my god, it's weird.
Nia, not with me.
Let's not fuck it up.
Is wakker. Is een boerse wereld dat beter.
Come on.
The film opens with Emma, a gentle and compassionate schoolteacher known for her pacifist beliefs. It is her last day of classes before the holidays, but her personal life weighs heavily on her mind. She recently had an argument with her boyfriend, and because of this tension, she decides to spend her vacation at her father's farm rather than with him as Emma leaves school. She passes by the receptionist, who hands her a large red backpack that her cousin had left behind. It contains camping gear, though at the time Emma doesn't think much of it in a different part of town. A criminal gang is busy loading boxes into a van. Their leader, Bossman, oversees the operation with strict authority. The boxes contain illegal substances, and Bossman orders his men to prepare quickly so they can get on the road without drawing attention. Among the group is Pete, the newest member, still inexperienced and nervous. Meanwhile, Emma drives her car along a country road toward her father's property. She calls him to let him know she's on her way and asks him to time how long the trip will take, something her protective father often insists on. While driving, she receives a message from her boyfriend. Still frustrated about their fight, she pulls over to respond. Their conflict stems from a recent incident in which he got into a fight and hit another person. Emma, who has always lived by nonviolent principles, was furious with him. Her boyfriend defends himself, saying he acted only in self-defense, but Emma insists she wants a partner who is kind and nonviolent. Disappointed, she ends the call and resumes driving at the same time. The gang is already on the road when they are stopped by a police officer doing routine checks. The officer approaches the van and asks Pete for his identification and vehicle papers. Pete's nervous demeanor immediately raises suspicion. The officer presses further, asking what they're carrying in the back. Bossman calmly explains that the van is full of moving supplies, tools, and household items, but the officer isn't fully convinced. Sensing trouble, 3 of Bossman's men step out of the vehicle and pretend to ask the officer for directions, trying to distract him. But when the officer insists on inspecting the van, he orders them back inside. At that moment, the gang reveals their weapons, surrounds him, and overpowers him. Baz, one of the henchmen, strikes the officer across the head with his gun, knocking him unconscious. Instead of leaving him behind, they decide to drag him to a hidden location where no one can find him. Unaware of what has just happened, Emma continues driving along the same road. Suddenly, her car begins overheating, and the radiator fails, leaving her stranded. She tries to call for help, but there is no phone signal in the area. Frustrated and alone, she steps outside to check the car. Not far from her, the gang gathers in a secluded spot, the officer now with a bag over his head. Realizing he has seen their faces, Bossman decides they can't let him go. He doesn't want to dirty his own hands, so he orders Pete to execute him, blaming the rookie for creating the situation. But before handing over the task, Bossman tests Pete to see if he even knows how to fire a weapon. It becomes clear that Pete has never shot a gun in his life. Bossman instructs him to take a few practice shots at nearby rocks. The sound of gunfire carries across the countryside. Emma, still stuck on the road, hears the shots echo in the distance. Her curiosity and concern lead her to follow the noise. She leaves her car behind and quietly walks toward the sound. Hidden behind trees, she suddenly sees the horrifying sight of the gang surrounding the bound officer. To her shock, Pete fires and hits the policeman in the shoulder. Emma gasps, dropping the bottle in her hand. The noise alerts the criminals. Immediately, they chase after her. Emma tries to flee, but they quickly catch her and drag her back to the group. Realizing that she too has now seen their faces, the gang debates what to do. Boila, one of the men, suggests they should take advantage of her first, then kill her afterward. Bossman agrees reluctantly but insists that whoever touches her will be the one responsible for killing her afterward. Boila accepts. What they don't notice is that the officer is still alive. Despite his injury, he crawls toward his patrol car. Emma sees him moving and he signals for her to remain quiet. Meanwhile, Boila handcuffs Emma and pulls her aside. But before he can act, the officer makes a desperate escape attempt. The gang chases him down, and Bossman finally takes a rifle, positions himself on high ground, and shoots the officer fatally in the head. During the chaos, Emma manages to grab the belt with the handcuff key and frees herself. Recalling the survival lessons her father had taught her since childhood, she bolts through a fence and runs back toward her car. From inside, she grabs a small bag and her cousin's large red backpack. When Boila realizes she has escaped, he alerts the others. Bossman, furious, warns the men that unless they kill Emma, their entire operation is doomed. They arm themselves with radios and set off to hunt her through the countryside. At the farm, Emma's father grows increasingly worried. She should have arrived by now, but there is no sign of her. He calls her phone repeatedly but only reaches voicemail, making him even more uneasy. Out in the woods, Emma hides, trembling and overwhelmed with fear. For a moment she breaks down, crying quietly, but soon she steadies herself and starts searching through her backpack for anything useful. The gang reaches her abandoned car and rifles through her belongings. They find her papers and personal information, giving them more clues about who she is. Following her footprints, they alert Bossman and continue the chase. Emma, meanwhile, realizes that her trail is too easy to follow. To buy herself time, she begins creating false tracks in multiple directions, leading them off course. Elsewhere, a farmer finds Emma's car. Recognizing her name from the papers inside, he calls out for her but gets no response. The farmer happens to be a close friend of her father. Unable to find Emma, he drives to a spot with better signal and calls her father, who immediately sets out to meet him. The criminals soon find Emma's confusing trail. Pete points out that the tracks split into 3 different paths. Bossman orders them to split into pairs and search separately, using radios to report any sighting. Emma, exhausted and thirsty, eventually finds a source of drinking water and hydrates herself. But just as she is recovering, Boila and another thug spot her. Instead of calling the others, Boila wants to take advantage of her again. He threatens her with his gun, demanding water, then approaches her with bad intentions. Emma warns him to back off, but when he doesn't, she lashes out, stabbing him multiple times with a knife. Shocked and shaken, she realizes her father was right. Sometimes violence is unavoidable. Meanwhile, her father arrives near the area. Seeing the tracks, he realizes his daughter is being hunted by 6 armed men. He tells the farmer that Emma had been trained by him from a young age, but after she once shot an animal, she vowed never to harm another living being again. That is why she embraced pacifism. Back in the woods, the second thug with Boila notices he has disappeared. He radios the others, mistakenly assuming Boila captured Emma but later died. Emma overhears this through Boila's radio and takes off again. She uses the device to taunt the others, telling them she killed Boila and has already contacted the police, who will arrive in 2 hours. Furious, the gang refuses to give up and continues chasing her. Emma cleverly ambushes another pursuer by hurling a rock at his head. Thinking he is down, she tries to move on, but he suddenly grabs her and begins choking her. In desperation, she reaches for a gun nearby and shoots him. Over the radio, the others hear the shot. Emma announces proudly that she has killed a second one and that only 4 remain as the pursuit continues. The gang begins to feel ill after unknowingly drinking contaminated water. Still, Bossman urges them to ignore their weakness and press forward. Spotting Emma in the distance, Bossman fires his rifle, hitting her. She collapses, but when they move in, they realize she is still alive and running toward an abandoned property. Bossman shoots again but misses, ordering his men to finish the job while he provides cover. Inside the ruins, Emma arms herself with a sharp piece of iron. When one thug enters to search, she ambushes him and kills him. Pete, meanwhile, hesitates outside, claiming he doesn't want to continue. When he finally enters, Emma disarms him and pins him with a knife to his throat. Pete begs for his life, swearing he is a pacifist like her. Emma shows mercy and lets him go, but as soon as he steps outside, he shouts her location. Without hesitation, she throws a knife into his back, killing him before he can expose her. Bossman, unable to reach his men over the radio, grows nervous and decides to join the hunt himself. Inside, Baz manages to overpower Emma, dragging her into a brutal hand-to-hand fight. She taunts him, saying he is too afraid to fight a woman without a gun. Enraged, Baz agrees to fight barehanded, but weakened by the poisoned water, he eventually falls to Emma's strikes. She beats him repeatedly with an iron bar until he is motionless. Finally, Emma comes face to face with Bossman, the last of the gang. Smirking, he proposes a duel, mocking her inexperience. What he doesn't know is that Emma's father, a military veteran, trained her well. Using both guns, she dives sideways and shoots him, ending the nightmare. Back at the farm, her father sits on the porch, silently praying for his daughter's return. Tears well in his eyes as he fears the worst. Suddenly, he spots a figure staggering in the distance. It's Emma, wounded in the shoulder but alive. Overcome with emotion, he runs to her, and the two embrace tightly. The film closes with Emma recovering in the hospital. Though shaken, she has learned a profound lesson, that while she values peace, there are moments when self-defense and violence are necessary to survive. In the end, she chooses forgiveness, reconciling with her boyfriend and moving forward with a new understanding of strength and resilience.